In today's show, we're looking ahead to Sunday and players that you can stream in to win your week. Hopefully, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. So it's Sunday. That means we're going to attack specific categories we're looking to stream to win this week. We are looking at points leagues, ESPN, Yahoo. Let's talk about them and let's start with Yahoo. If you're in a Yahoo points league, these are guys playing on Sunday that are available in over 50% of formats, over 50% of leagues, that I think are going to be useful streams for you. In fact, some of them are must-roster guys. Let's start with a pair of Isaiahs. Isaiah Roby and Isaiah Jackson. Isaiah Roby has played huge minutes the last two games. The guys that can impact him are Derek Favors and Mike Muscala. I don't think they should impact him, though. The guy that worry about longer term, I guess, is Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. And maybe the return of Aaron Wiggins means Baisley plays more small ball center. But I think for now, at the very least, just stream in Roby for Sunday. He's his big games and 30-plus minutes the last two. And I think he's a must-roster guy at this stage. Isaiah Jackson, I've said, is a must-roster guy for a few weeks now. We're starting to see that come to fruition, and he should be on a roster too. Brandon Clark, it's been a little bit down for him lately, for sure. But Kyle Anderson is questionable for tomorrow. So Clarkie, maybe a little bit of a boost there. Back to OKC, Trey Mann. With no Josh Giddey, no Lou Dort. Mann is useful enough, I think would be a fair way of saying it. He's not the greatest, but he can have big scoring nights. He can pop off. And that's useful enough in a points league. A guy getting a role with decent usage you can pop off is useful. Cameron Payne is a must-roster player. Absolutely must-roster. Got to have him. O'Shea Brissett is a good streamer. I don't love him in category leagues, but in points league, he's a must-roster, I believe. Darius Baisley, yeah, fine. Points league guy. Jalen Smith's a guy across all leagues, but again, really good value here. Same with Jackson Hayes and same with Alec Burks. In fact, of this list of guys who are available in over 50% of leagues, Roby, Jackson, Payne, Brissett, Smith, Hayes, maybe Burks, they're all must-roster guys, I think. But they're all available in a lot of spots. So you can stream them in, get some value in your Yahoo points leagues, and hopefully win your matchup that pushes you either one round further in the playoffs or into the playoffs in general. Let's look at ESPN points leagues. Now, just as I hit record on this video, the news came out that Cameron Johnson's not playing tomorrow. So he's not a stream for tomorrow, but that doesn't matter because he needs to be rostered. Right? You need to roster him. But he's on this list, but you need to roster him. Brandon Clark, Isaiah Roby, Isaiah Jackson, we talked about already. Monty Morris is available in a lot of spots on ESPN. He's not the greatest player, but there's value in him for sure. Trey Mann, Cam Payne, and Terrence Mann. I think Payne and Terrence Mann are both must-roster players, yet they're available everywhere. Jackson Hayes and Marcus Morris are still rostered in under 30% of leagues on ESPN. So again, a bunch of guys here who are must-roster options, but also just a plethora, a cornucopia, in fact, of options that you can stream in on ESPN for your points league formats to really boost up what you're getting on a Sunday. So many different options there available for you. There's also a bunch of options available at Built, because Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. It's not just one flavor that tastes like you're eating a shoe. That's not what Built Bar's about. We're about, well, not we. Built Bar's not my company. Built Bar is about providing great tasting, healthy treats that are jam-packed full of protein. Protein bars that taste like candy bars. These are 17 grams of protein, but just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, really low in fat, but the high protein, it's great. And there's also the puffs. If you try that, protein-infused marshmallowy goodness. And like all of their bars, Built Bar puffs are covered in 100% chocolate. Real chocolate. So head to Built.com and use the code LOCKED15 to save 15% off your order of Built Bars. Built Bar is built different. Okay, let's look at category leagues now. Players that we can stream in for certain categories. Let's start with the points category. Eric Gordon and Gary Bird, Garrison Matthews in Houston. Some value for both of those guys. They might not both pop off at the same time, but there's enough value in them here. It is a back-to-back. Be aware of that. Maybe Eric Gordon sits out the Sunday and plays Monday. I think he probably sits out the Monday, but just be aware of that. But value there. Alec Burks, yeah, look, the shooting we know can be rough, but he's going to get opportunity. No doubt about that. He's going to get a lot of minutes. Corey Kispert, Luke Kennard. Yeah, Kennard's been iffy, but lose rotation or the production of those players can always change. Thad Young can score a bit. KJ Martin in Houston's not bad. Grayson Allen played 30-plus minutes last game. That's encouraging. Not that he played particularly well, but the 30-plus minutes are encouraging. So that gives him some value to help the points category. And then we get to a little bit bottom of the barrel. Hull Neto's not a great points guy, but he is scoring, or he's playing minutes. And then Boogie Cousins, who literally might have 13 points in 17 minutes. And, yeah, if he starts, ooh, holy shit. Obviously, Nick Jokic missed last game with an illness, but he is likely to return. Jokic is listed as probable for Sunday, so you're probably not going to get starting Cousins, or almost definitely not getting starting Cousins, but there is some value still off the bench as a points-type streamer. For the three-pointer category, a lot of the same names here, the Duck, Luke Kennard, Garrison Matthews, Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen. Throw in Patty Mills there. He doesn't really do anything else apart from hit threes, but there's something here for him. Devontae Graham, again, his minutes and his production's way down, but still could give you 2 or 3 triples very easily. Corey Kispert's in that mix, and Landry Shamet, much like Patty Mills, does nothing else. But with Devin Booker and Cam Johnson out, they're going to need his shooting. He's going to play high 20 minutes. He might hit 3 or 4 threes, and that's what you're looking for. Nico Batum can hit some threes. He's not doing a huge amount at the moment. And then Alec Burks also, again, if it goes in at higher than 11%, then maybe you're going a little bit, there's maybe something there for you. Rebounds. Alec Burks, good rebounder, and he's going to get good playing time. DeMarcus Cousins, a good rebounder. JaVale McGee helps you in the rebound category. Thad Young, Denny Avdia. My man, Isaiah Hartenstein, who is playing really well at the moment. So Zubats, by the way. But Hartenstein's getting his minutes and playing well. They're not really going small that often because Hartenstein and Zubats are playing that well. KJ Martin. Hopefully we get 20 plus from him. Serge Ibaka, his value is going to expire whenever Brook Lopez returns, but for now, there's something there. Jericho Sims, the backup center in New York. If Mitchie Robinson gets hurt, a 50-50 chance every game, or in foul trouble, a 50-50 chance also, then Sims might play 20 plus. Now, he's a worse fouler than Mitchell Robinson, but 20 minutes might be 8 rebounds for Jericho. And then you got the big tree, Ken Birch in Toronto, who doesn't do anything, really, apart from get rebounds. For assists, always hard to find assists off the wire, but there are a few options here that are not bad. Starting in Washington with Ish Smith and Hull Neto. Smith is the better assist guy than Neto, but they're both streamable players in 12 teams. After that, it gets pretty iffy. Tyus Jones as a backup might get you 4. Aaron Holiday, minutes down, although with Cam Johnson out, they might play some Payne and Holiday together. That might help his assist numbers. Devontae Graham, Luke Kennard, Alec Burks. Actually, that gives me an opportunity to do this. Alec Burks. Thad Young, a good assist player. Eric Gordon, maybe, is where you get bottom of the barrel stuff. Then Goran Dragic, who did have 7 assists the other day. So maybe there's something there for Dragic, as I just have some coffee, and I don't know why I reached for that glass. Just needed that energy boost that coffee brings me. Maybe I needed a Built Bar, but I didn't have one handy. Let's look at the steals category. Thad Young, always a good steal guy. And then Jose Alvarado pops his head up. Really, really positive steals guy. Alec Burks, DeMarcus Cousins, Denny Avdia, Hull Neto. We've talked about all of those guys. Cameron Reddish has got a role in New York. Tom Thibodeau doesn't give him a big role, but he gives him a role because of his injuries. And Reddish can get steals. Isaac Okoro, blew up for scoring last game, but we don't trust him for that. 2 steals is a possibility there. Tyus Jones, and then Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, not the best steals guy, but at least there is something a little bit there for him. But there's also something at BetOnline. As basketball pushes towards the playoffs, BetOnline is your number 1 spot for odds, totals, and player performance props. It is the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season as well. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds as well. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Let's look at some block options. Players to help your block categories. Some decent ones available here. Let's start with Hartenstein, Grant Williams, who's getting a large role basically every game, JaVale McGee, Avdia can get a block, DeMarcus Cousins, Nico Batum, KJ Martin, Serge Ibaka, Jericho Sims, and Thad Young. All names that we've spoken about already. Field goal percentage. McGee and Hartenstein, clearly the two best options there in my mind. Then you go down to Jeff Green. There's the tank, Tom Bryant, who's played more minutes than Daniel Gafford the last two games. The thing we have to worry about here is the amazing, the improbable, the unbelievable return of Kristaps Porzingis. It looks like KP is going to play on Sunday. So how does that impact Bryant and Gafford? We don't know, but we will find out. Thad Young, good field goal percentage guy. Jericho Sims, DeAndre Bembry, KJ Martin, Johnny Conchar. Low volume, but he can help. And the big tree as well. And then lastly, we look at free throw percentage. Emmanuel Quickly, the best guy on the board there, and his minutes are pushing up. Cam Reddish and Amir Coffey and Bryn Forbes, all of those guys can help you there. Gary Bird and Alec Burks, the big stiffy Bones Highland, Grant Williams, Corey Kispert, and Devontae Graham. Hopefully, that's the tools that you need to help win your matchup this week. Find the right guy for the right category that you need and get him in. And in Points League, just grab those guys that you need. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. If you are here on YouTube, why don't you thumb it up? Why don't you leave a comment? And why don't you subscribe as well? Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.